the 12th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me a Scottish lordship. Yep, Reigna got me a certificate to 5 square feet in Aberdeenshire, and I am now a lord. Lord Captain, actually. Welcome to the Book of Vinzer, Flinn, friends. I hope everyone found a little peace and enjoyment over the holiday season, whatever you celebrate or however the hell you like to enjoy it. Or at least I hope you got a couple days off to get blackout drunk or brain-numbingly high and do nothing more intensive than a Netflix binge. I thought we needed the break last year in the middle of a pandemic, but holy shit. We're all worn the fuck out, and more than once I've seen it coming through in little but telling ways lately. Like, we got the Christmas tree set up, we're just too tired to decorate it for a few days. Same. But I can promise, this is another thing that's not just you. It's me, it's us, it's everyone that is capable of understanding the madness that is our reality the last year or two. Keep that in mind, you're not alone. But still, I prefer the harsh truth in dealing with it than going eyeballs deep into a convenient conspiracy theory and having my head so far up my own ass I need a glass stomach. As everyone knows by now, the Steelhaven household added a new kitten to the mix as part of my stepson's present for Christmas. Her name is Willow, chosen by my stepson. There may be some Buffy influences here. She has 2 middle names. The first is Maggie, after my sister who helped save and foster the litter, a job that was as thankless and hard as it was rewarding. That Willow is settling happily into her new home and being accepted by the other 2 cats, that she's alive at all, is because of Maggie, so we thank you for that. Her other middle name is Gantana, so named for Gantana Flinn, one of my oldest Star Wars friends, the picture of Mandalorian badassery and snark and Vinzer's adopted Twi'lek daughter. Anyway, Willow is definitely part of Clan Flinn now, and it's nice having her here. Mandalorians making baby voices to their kitties is one of those things you never really see, but it happens. Speaking of Clan Flinn, there's some more pretty awesome news to congratulate a couple of Clan Flinn members on, that being Juice and Jinx. They have announced that they are not only expecting a baby in 2022, but that is going to be 2 babies, twin boys. Imagine telling a big Star Wars family they're expecting twins. Momentous! To my future nephews, I apologize now when all your many aunts and uncles won't stop referring to you as the Flinn twins. But I can promise you, like my own stepson and a bunch of others of our next generation, you won't lack for love, laughter, and silly adventure around here, and we're all looking forward to meeting you. You're going to have some pretty great parents. Congratulations and much love to Juice and Jinx. So, new year, fresh start, right? Anyone still do resolutions? I don't do them so much anymore because I know I have no problem breaking a rigid promise to myself, often to my detriment. However, I can definitely look back on 2021 and see just how far I've come, and that only grows greater with each year, certainly mental health-wise. So my quote-unquote resolutions for 2022 are to just keep on going, love and watch the backs of my family and Flinns, be as good a partner and stepdad as I can, and do what fulfills me, to remember to be a friend to myself, and very importantly, to keep laughing. We always at the start of a new year take stock of what we accomplished in the year gone and might be tempted to beat ourselves up a little because we think it wasn't enough. I do this to myself a lot, though less than before. And you know what? We made it through a hard year. That's damn well accomplishment enough. A year that was a lot harder than the first pandemic year, I think. In that first one, we had a sense of circling the wagons and looking out for each other, but 2021 put us through an endurance test and ground us down. But you know what? You're doing fucking fine, so keep doing it. Okay, so holidays are over. Let's get, well, I was going to say back to work, but fuck that. We're going to head to the crew lounge to see Reigna, Merida, Cryous and my aforementioned kitty-saving sister and talk about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 1.
This weekend was the first weekend that felt like a weekend in
Oh,
months.
that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you actually got to chance to relax.
Yeah.
Sure,
I'm at
Maggie, the
48% of the
ridiculousness
Windows update on the other computer, so I made the
boy.
right decision.
Yeah.
We'd still be there. At least it'll be done for when I have to work on Tuesday. So there's that.
Yeah, really.
Hey, you know, cheer up. Maybe the apocalypse will happen by then, you know.
I mean, we're on track. We're on track.
We're going the right direction for the apocalypse. It's just
Definitely.
Seems pretty plausible.
At this point, you know, had you asked me 2 years ago, I'd be like,
Surely we'll have it together by 2022, right?
Did you see the aunt's mug in Hawkeye?
What?
When she was staying in Hawkeye, when he was staying at her aunt's apartment after her place
Right.
exploded.
I remember the mug, but I forget
The
what it
mug
says.
said Thanos was right.
So did you actually watch the first episode of Fett, Maggie?
Yeah. It was a little long.
So it was like 20 minutes. It wasn't long enough by far.
It's like, oh, we're done. Okay. Oh, all right.
He's a New Zealander as well. All the clones have New Zealand accents because of Tamira Morrison.
Oh, yeah, okay. I was trying to figure out if it was New Zealand. I can't tell the difference between Australia and New Zealand.
Oh,
Don't tell them that.
Don't tell them that. Holy shit.
No, I remember the joke from Flight of the Conchords. I made a few notes as I watched.
Oh, good. I got a bunch here too. We're gonna go.
I have no notes. No notes.
Oh, is this what your podcast is actually about? I thought you were just doing this part as a farce.
No. This is like the crew lounge part where we talk about the latest show. First impressions, I guess.
Okay, I don't usually like to harp on episode lengths, but if you're trying to do two storylines at the same time, 30-ish minutes is not long enough to try to do both of those things.
I agree. Although I have to say that I didn't find the flashbacks cut into the current narrative too bad. I felt like it was pretty balanced. I could have done it with a little less of the Sand People stuff, but
I just found that they're trying to tell two stories in too little time. I can only assume based on the first episode that they're going to do this parallelly the entire time. Like, it'll be the A plot and the B plot of the A plot is what's going on in the present, and the B plot is probably all of the Sand People up until he meets up with Mando. And then, it'll all come together, as that's what usually happens when you do A plots and B plots, but we didn't get enough of both of them.
I wonder if they're going to do that B plot the whole way through the show, because there's 5 years, right? Like, that's a lot of backstory where stuff could have happened.
Yeah, I mean, I think they had to get in there and deal with like the Sarlacc pit thing, like just get that off the table so that it's done, so that we could all go,
I found the Sarlacc scene really jarring. I don't know, just finally seeing Fett down in the pit fighting for his life. It was I was like, oh my god, this is a horrible way to die.
I feel like they're going to kind of take it the way that Arrow took it a little bit. Because Arrow, they told what happened during those 5 years while cutting into the plot. Like, it just went back and forth. Like, if they're handling it different by taking it and making it his dreams that he's having while he's in the healing thing. But what's the proper name for that?
Was that a back to tank?
The back to tank.
Back to pod, yeah.
It was back to, yeah.
Yeah, back to pod. So when he was in the back to pod, he's having the flashbacks. That's how they're going to portray that, which I think is really cool. But as an average viewer, it took me a second to catch up to what each timeline was associated with. I'm like, okay, this is after this point. And I'm not super familiar with episodes 5 and 6. Not like, diehard viewers would be. So for me, I'd be like, when was this again? And how long was The Mandalorian after this? And how long was this after this? So it takes a second to put it in the timeline.
There was very much a target audience in mind for the start of it, and it's people like, like us, but yeah.
Yeah.
One of my notes that I made was, he was a slave, how king all of a sudden. And then I realized that it was like going back and forth. So it did take me. Because I was like, wow, how did he get out of that?
Accurate.
But yeah, so that I definitely see Courtney's point there, because I was like, what? I don't know what's going on, but this is also confusing.
Yeah.
It definitely covered off the two story beats of how did he get out of the Sarlacc and how did he lose his armor. Like, bang, bang, out of the way, carry on with choking out large CGI creatures with chains.
Stop asking fanboys.
So how did a Stormtrooper get down there in the Sarlacc pit?
That's a good question, because there obviously wasn't any Stormtroopers on Jabba's barge.
Yeah.
You got to assume relatively recently if he still had oxygen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, yeah.
Right? So, I mean, that wasn't like 5 years later. And I'm assuming Sarlacc, maybe acid? I don't know. Trying to decide.
Yeah, that's what all the scars are from.
Yeah, so...
I was very glad to see that there wasn't any evidence that there wasn't any evidence of the events of Return of the Jedi that put him in there. There was the wreckage of the skiff and all that, but we didn't see like the Falcon leaving in the background or anything, which was smart because that would have totally framed this as a revenge story, but they just left it alone. It was just all quiet and then he got out. So I think that was a good way to do it.
We still don't technically know how long he was in there. Like it could have been days, it could have been probably not months, but like somewhere between days and weeks.
Well, the whole idea of the Sarlacc was it digested you for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Slowly digest you. But yeah, I don't think, I mean, a human could only live so long.
I always kind of thought the Sarlacc set up this horrific symbiotic thing where it kept you alive and then slowly.
And then
I got the impression that it wasn't that long afterwards. Like everybody just kind of fucked off, and then that's when he popped out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you see, he's eaten by a Sarlacc, and you're like, yeah, well,
I think we're done here.
He had to get all the Jabba's henchmen off him that got thrown in after him.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Or got dragged in after the Jabba's skiff went down.
I just read, because I went to go look up something, and I just read a news article title, and Vinzer, I think you actually need to consult a lawyer. The Book of Boba Fett has the aim of a drunk stormtrooper.
That's Phoenix and Juice.
That's what I mean. They're not copying you for this one.
Arguably, a drunk stormtrooper might hit shit. So
like a broken clock, right twice a day.
Again, a Flinn.
Just saying.
So I did like that Fett, he fought so hard to get out, there was punched through the wall and all that shit, and he climbs out. It was a very visceral scene. But then, immediately, he passes out, and the Jawas just, those little fuckers that come out and strip him down, and then the Tuskens get him. But what it did was something that really needed to happen for Boba Fett, because he is a character that has all this baggage, real or imagined, depending how hardcore a fan you are. And he's just the icon of cool, right? So they had to fucking humanize him in a hurry. We had to relate to Boba Fett on a human level, you know what I mean? We had to kind of scuff him up a bit and rub some of that shine off.
Yeah, no, they did. They had to make him a little more fallible, I think. Because he's just a legend
on his ass, right? Like he got beat up on this
he
episode.
totally did.
They had to make him a relatable character really quickly before nobody cared, right? Because let's be real, in the OG Star Wars movie, he's only in it for like 10 minutes.
He had 4 lines. That was it.
Let us not forget the Christmas special.
Let us forget the Christmas special.
No, let's.
I saw a tweet that I found really funny with that this incarnation of Boba Fett is the age-old RPG game trope where the nigh undefeatable boss becomes a party member and is suddenly weak as shit.
Wait, is that like when Vinzer comes with us on campaigns?
Vinzer never comes with us on campaigns.
He just sends you out in jobs. Anyway, Cryous always had the best line in a Flynn fight anyway. Put that down before we hurt yourself.
I occasionally have zingy one-liners, yes.
The new sand monster of Tatooine that Fett fought. Did anyone else see the scales and just be like, "Great dragon, run"?
I know. Yes, I was excited. And then I'm like, no, it's not.
This is a monster on Tatooine I've never seen or heard of, so that was kind of cool.
I hate to keep bringing up the internet, but I also saw a thing of like, oh yes, the last time I too clicked on a lore item in the middle of the desert of Tatooine, the world boss in Tor on Tatooine is a giant crate dragon that you just find in the middle of the desert.
That's right.
My thing with that, and that, like I did a little, I don't even remember what monster somebody had it come up as, but it looks very much like a really sentient beast. But it's like it wasn't a Tatooine anyway, but animal creature, person, beast, whatever. Yeah, so I think it must be. I was a little annoyed with it. I'm not gonna lie. And this was where I said that I didn't realize that Robert Rodriguez was doing it with directing until I saw the end credits, but then it all made a lot more sense because I was like, I'm starting to feel like I'm in a stop motion animation thing because the fight, like, it's not even his, like, I mean, like super old ones, like with centaurs, and they're like this, and you're like, because it was not great. Like, it was not great.
Was
I
it
did
like
not like the fight? Was
it like Buffy the Vampire Slayer band Candy Demon?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah,
a little bit. Like,
I'm
it
gonna
was
know what
just
that is this year.
you will, and it'll be worth it. And you'll go, it's not like that at all.
Yeah, we will return to that subject, and then I'll have
You're like, no,
thoughts.
it's not. But I don't know. The spaghetti western feel. I get because they had kind of gone that way with Mandalorian, but the style of spaghetti western that they kind of went with this made much more sense once I found out it was Robert Rodriguez.
Do you think that the way Fett killed that creature was parallel to the way Leia killed Jabba?
Yes. I mean, I think most people that are like fans, and most people probably watching it are like to a degree of fan, at least know that part. I think that pretty much everybody saw him dangling there and they're like, use the chain!
I felt like some of the choreography was clunky.
Oh,
like the street scene with everything. I was just like, what is why is nothing moving? There was no flow to the fight scene. It was nothing. It was literally just like doing.
They made up for it a little bit with the parkour, but that street fight was very sedate. But I was like, I mean, now we know Fett's not really at 100%, but I was like, why is he fucking standing there? He could mow he blew one guy out with a missile, which was great, but
I thought that redeemed it a little bit. Somebody was like, why doesn't Boba Fett just pull out his blaster and shoot the guys with the shield? Boom, boom. Instead, I'm like, because the shields deflect blaster bolts.
Exactly.
The key word you just passed there.
Yeah. And we saw it. I mean, it happened anyway. During the fight, they actually legitimately bounced back on them. So,
hey,
the Gamorreans. Go Gamorreans.
Pour one out for the Gamorreans.
Oh, the Gamorrean guards. Now, my big question, and I would put money on this, are these the very guards that Luke force choked and got his way into Jabba's palace, thus creating Jabba's eventual downfall? Are these the two guys that fucked up at the front gate?
Brando bringing the Wookiee rug. That was ballsy.
Yeah. It was like,
One thing that I don't know if we were talking about the plot in order.
Oh, we're just sort of jumping all over. Don't worry about it.
Okay. But I just want to bring up the droid, the voice of the droid. Did both of you guys catch it?
I think it was the droid that was torturing the Gonk droid in Return of the Jedi. He's like a Jabba Palace droid. But you guys didn't see who did his voice?
Robert Rodriguez did one of the voices, but I think he did the...
Think closer to
guy
Taika
with the
Waititi.
belt. Yeah.
Yeah, more Taika of Empire World.
I don't know who did it.
I'll give you a hint. Tell him to fuck off. That was Matt Berry. I saw the credits and I was like, wait.
We couldn't, and by we, I mean me, I couldn't leave it alone. I was just like, I'm pretty sure, oh my gosh, is it the droid? I really hope it's the droid, because that would fall perfectly in line with Taika in season 1 of Mandalorian, right? So
the credits listed the main stars and then said it by alphabetical order in order of appearance, and it said Matt Berry, and I was like, hold up, okay, he wasn't any of the actors. Pretty sure he wasn't the Trandoshan woman or whatever. I was like, he had to have been a droid.
No, Robert Rodriguez was the Trando.
Yeah,
okay.
With the Wookiee pelt. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool.
Who was the secretary? Like the secretary of the mayor of Mos Espa?
No, and that begs my next big question. Who's the mayor of Mos Espa? How much you want to bet it's fucking Watto?
That'd be hilarious.
He lives in Mos Espa, right? That's where the pod race was?
Maybe, but I feel like he doesn't get that level of respect, you know? Like, I don't know. It's somebody that they're afraid of. Like, a lot of people are afraid of, clearly. Like, I just feel like it's got to be... Like, no, I just feel like they're sending the secretary down to talk, and then he's like, okay, well, you're not sending a gift back? Like...
Who does this guy think he is? Yeah.
Who are you?
Yeah, but
so
if you think about it, that's good, because Boba's a crime lord, so I would think you would want your local government official to say fuck you to the crime lord and let my people do their shit.
Yeah,
I like that the Jizz Whalers are obviously they haven't broken up in the last
They're
still working
10 years. So they're still jizz whaling away.
Still doing the circuit.
For reference, Maggie, jizz whaling is what George Lucas created as a Star Wars music type, like jazz, but it's literally spelt jizz. So a jizz whaler is like a Star Wars sax player. Sir, I can't make it up. I swear to God. Hey,
Unfortunately,
man, you want to listen to some jizz tonight? Yeah, man, I'm in.
This guy must have been like hopefully I don't offend anyone, but the biggest loser. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he didn't have a friend around him that would say, like, hey man, jizz is probably not the right word.
Oh, but I don't.
Nobody stopped him.
I will lean on the older 2/3 of this group and ask, when did jizz start becoming a euphemism? Like, how long has that been?
Oh, it was a euphemism.
It's always been around as far as
in the 70s. They used it on a WKRP episode.
Yes.
Right? Really? They said jizz?
Yeah. Yeah. I can't remember the exact episode right now, but I remember hearing that word and being like, wow, okay.
It's like, oh, we're there now. Okay.
Yeah. Like, okay.
Hold on.
Like
Originally U.S. English, first attested with the meaning energy in 1842 and with the meaning of semen in 1888.
There you go.
Didn't take
For semantic development, compare spunk. I'm done reading this now.
Probably.
Oh, perhaps ultimately from the British dialect chism, a shoot or sprout.
There were enough people around him that went, oh, what are you calling them?
Just
Oh,
kind of slipped through the cracks because that was an
Okay.
old trilogy thing, right? But when they got to episode 1, when they were doing the prequels, he was in complete financial and creative control, so nobody told him no for fucking nothing, which is why we got Jar Jar Binks and all that shit, right?
It probably came up as like a drunken joke at one of his parties or something, and it came up as somebody misspoke and he's like jizz wailing, and he's like, ah.
Like,
And
hey, I'm
then
gonna put these puppets
pick
in
that.
this band. What kind of music do you got in Star Wars, George? Now, jizz wailing. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like he delivered it very sincerely, and everybody went, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll go with that, buddy.
Sure thing,
Okay.
George. You're the boss.
Okay.
Jizz it is.
Just it is.
That will not be the first episode's name.
Jizz it is.
Do you know what I noticed though is like the minute amount of Star Wars that I have seen is always in that fucking stupid cantina thing with all those stupid things. Like, what did I write down here? I had one. Oh, those green pigs. Like, get them, retire those green pigs.
They're
Pigs.
Gamorreans.
The Gamorreans. It's like,
Gamorreans never get any
Like, you're
respect.
right at like a He-Man episode. And the other one is the blue Play-Doh elephant at the keyboard thing.
Oh, he's iconic. Come on, that's Max Rebo. He's a jizz wailer. His band.
he's the
He's
best
a-
known jizz whaler, really. I
He's a
mean,
jizz whaler. But like every scene that I've ever seen out of Star Wars is it always ends up being that one or something in the desert. And then I'm like, okay, are there any other scenes in this?
Well, there's a winter planet in the second
yeah,
movie. It's
Hoth
pretty good.
and Hoth.
Yeah.
That's the other option. Snow.
That's
Well,
the
there's
part,
also
those
that
are the
foresty
ones I
one.
haven't seen.
Endor. Yeah.
Yeah, there's I was like the foresty one.
Endor.
Is that the one that has the chase through the woods?
Yes.
That I have seen that one. Yeah.
Oh, you've seen it.
And the
for
Ewoks.
sure.
Every Star Wars thing has to start in a cantina somewhere, as all good stories
All good
should
stories
start in
do.
cantinas.
Is that the case though? So is that why I see it so often? It's just prominent.
Yeah, this was
Not
a different
all.
cantina in this one, but it was definitely, it's given us that Star Wars nostalgia by going into that Star Wars.
We
Yeah,
do that when
Like
we're
Mando
playing.
goes to a cantina the first episode, and
Yeah.
New Hope kind of eventually
It's like
gets
we go to the
there.
cantina as soon as
Oh,
we
yeah.
get
Any chance.
to a planet. We're like, what are you gonna do? We're gonna go drink.
That's where you get the info, right? And a
Yep.
starting warm-up fight.
It's like usually, yeah.
So the cantina that Fett went, I must admit, everything was handled very politely in this episode. He's like, oh, I'm just stopping by to introduce myself. Like, that's not what you'd expect Boba Fett to do after, 40 years of building him up in our heads to be just kick the door down and kill everybody. He's like, oh, hello, I'm here to visit, this kind of thing.
What is he going to Crime Lord over?
I assume Mos Espa, which I'm glad they portrayed it looking as big as it is, because that alone, they don't even have to leave the planet. They could do good crime stuff right there.
If it's going to turn out that all we know of Boba Fett and all that we've built up about Boba Fett and about him being this badass, kick-ass, scary, like tossed you in carbonite, he's the guy you call in when you gotta get something done. If that's going to turn out that maybe his reputation that he has does not actually match up to the person that he is.
Interesting.
That or something happened in the last 5 years to change that. Or in like that time period between the flashbacks and now, like he is definitely, there's something changed him, and I feel like it's going to involve that kid.
Which kid? I was talking with that to Reigna just earlier, saying I want to know more about Fett's motivations, because, okay, let's say his reputation is deserved. He's the most badass bounty hunter in the galaxy. He gets top dollar. So if he's a lifelong bounty hunter, he just ups and decides I'm going to be the crime boss one day. Like, it seems almost out of character with Boba Fett. So what happened in this past that gave him the motivation? It says, all right, I need to control this network, because I know it's all that Legends canon now, but he's always just been that lone wolf. So why does he suddenly want to run everything? Like, there's something going on.
Well, you gotta wonder why. Like, I mean, I understand that they were kind of doing a catch-up character development sort of thing for him, but when they took him back to his dad, when that scene with his dad's helmet, like, I mean, I understand why you'd put it in, but you didn't need to put it in either, unless you're going to do some sort of father-son-y thing.
This is the family angle, which is why I think we're going to see a grown Omega at some point. I think she's going to factor into all this. So Fett wants to run out of a criminal empire on respect and not fear. Obviously that's not going to work. He's being portrayed as kind of slowed down and wanting to run things without a lot of blood, but like obviously that's not going to happen. So and everyone's like, oh, why isn't Fett kicking ass? I have a feeling the further the season goes, they're gonna have to start, him and Fennec, they're gonna have to start dropping bodies like crazy. He's like, well, I'm gonna have to do it the hard way then.
I think Fennec will like that. She'll be like,
she's
great. I could just kill him. I could just kill him right now.
She's so fun. Like, she's the dangerous one. I like everything she did in this episode. Every line. I mean, no Wen can do no wrong to me.
For sure. A brilliant decision on the costume designer's part is you can put both of your almost 60-year-old actors in helmets and then have other people do the stunts, and nobody will know.
They do that for the 30-year-old actors too.
I know.
The thing is that I feel like Ming-Na does a little bit more.
Yep.
Oh, probably.
100%.
She's loving the show and being in it. Like, she's a lot of fun to follow on Twitter. She is hyped.
I think what's going to happen is if we divide the episode into like the prequel storyline and the current timeline storyline, I think it's going to be something along the lines of the prequel storyline is going to build up to something like Bib being like a huge asshole to the whatevers of Mos Espa. And Boba finally goes, fuck it, I need to go get my armor. And that carries us into The Mandalorian and all the shit that goes on in The Mandalorian.
I like that.
And then it loops back around to the end of the last episode of Mandalorian where he's like, fuck you, Bib, pew pew, I'm the boss now. Or Bib fucked him over somehow.
More likely, yeah.
In the last 5, like in the in-between 5 years type deal.
Yeah.
What makes Boba Fett, the literal legendary lone wolf bounty hunter, suddenly want to settle down, for lack of a better term?
You know, the thing with Boba Fett, really, like, is we've partly made Boba Fett. I mean, us. I mean, we have a little bit, but like, we, the fans, have kind of built him to that point too.
If the fans hadn't loved this character so much, the Mandalorian show never would have happened. It just
never, ever. You know, so I feel like while there are certain touch points that we all know about Boba Fett, and we have a little bit more because of the Mandalorian, there's like, we don't know, there are big gaping holes that we've all kind of built up to be like, oh, I'm sure it was doing something incredibly awesome and ass kicking. I might have been just sitting home. We don't know. It's like, could have been anything. Also, the Rodian. I kind of feel like the Rodian was a girl. I don't know.
Could have been.
They're dead now, so
yeah. The Rodian. That was kind of weird. I don't understand unless he's not completely understanding it.
I did enjoy how after Fett proved himself to the Tuskens that the chief was just like, it's almost like he handed him a beer that look at him is like, all right, you're cool.
Yeah, the little kid is like, look what I did, I fucked that guy up, and he's like, yeah, sure you did. Here, guy who did all the actual work.
Thanks for making sure that kid didn't get killed. Good job. Come on.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how much time he's going to spend with the Sand People. I'm wondering if this is literally going to be like a 5 years in the desert kind of thing with them.
I think he might be, actually. I kind of feel like, because they are all interconnected, like in a lot of the stuff, I just feel like his level of, I feel like there's a respect, I think, that's going to happen with them, and personally, but
the next flashback answer I want is he obviously gets his ship back. I want to see him go, get his ship back.
Where his slave one been parked all this time? Does it have a bunch of parking tickets?
Yeah, really. Like, it would have been parked at Jabba's palace.
Jabba's palace, presumably, right?
What did Bib do with it, right? Did he sell it to somebody? Maybe that's a whole little flashback of its own.
Well, it's a one of a kind, too, because didn't Django steal the prototype?
I'm not again. It depends on which version you go on, but either way, I know it as a KSE fire spray, and they were really rare ships. Like you just didn't see them around, like even like Falcon type ships, Corellian ships. Super unique with the rotating cockpit.
I'm curious about, and this goes back to the Tusken Raiders, who I have had to practice very hard to not call Sand People, because when I watched the original, they didn't have names. Nobody had names. It was like Hammerhead and like, seriously, and just Greedo. It was just Greedo. Like we didn't know he was.
Call them Sand People?
Oh yeah, no, that's like Hammerhead. They call them Hammerhead. Like that was they didn't have names.
That's actually like a derogatory term for an Ithorian. Yeah.
I'm curious because I'm not very good with timelines because they kind of screw me over. But so the Tusken Raiders killed Anakin's mother, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, so had her captive, and she died as a result.
And she died. So, what if this tribe was the same tribe?
Ooh.
I just thought it would be cool.
That would be really cool.
Right? Tribe's not even a particularly appropriate term, although I guess they live as a nomadic tribe, sort of, but we're kind of getting away from using tribe in a...
Could be in a flashback as Fett gets to know these Tuskens that they'll have some kind of, I don't know, cave painting lore type level stuff, and it'll show the slaughter of their tribe, and he'll recognize, like, having seen a Jedi, know what they are. He'll be like, oh, goddamn Jedi, of course, and then he'll like them even more.
I wonder if this whole prisoner thing, is going to be a misunderstanding. Like, I mean, I know they had him tied up, so kind of a prisoner, but, like, I don't know, I just feel like the leader kept being like, they just weren't treating them super prisonery, you know what I mean? They weren't, like, throwing shit at them and, like, hitting them and doing anything, except when they tried to get away. Yeah, but not like the adults. Like, the leader was like...
It's almost like he was waiting to see what he would do.
Hi, I got a big stick and stuff, and my kind of like alligator dog is going to eat you, so...
Yeah, it's kind of like testing him.
Yeah, I don't know. So I wonder if the understanding that everybody had about their culture and about all of the stuff that happened there is going to turn out to be...
So the other question I have from this episode is Fett keeps spending time in a Bactopod. He seems to really need it. So the most common theory is that he got some kind of poisoning from the Sarlacc pit, which I would buy. But I'm wondering if his clone DNA is starting to break down, if he's literally starting to just kind of come apart. And that's why I think maybe Omega, who's, around clones, she's a Untampered clone herself. And in old Legend canon books, clones figured out how to keep from dying young. So I'm wondering if Omega is going to somehow come and fix his genetic problem so he can keep living or something like that.
Cool.
That's true. That could be. I was actually kind of curious because it's obviously not visible wounds that he's in there for.
I mean, we assume he got those smooth scars from the Sarlacc. We don't actually know that. Like, he might have been scarred before. You see, like, I don't, like, there's so many unanswered questions still.
He's only been a bounty hunter since he was like 6 years old. So
yeah.
Or 8 or whatever the fuck it is.
Maybe that's a part of the reason why he's a crime lord, is maybe it's access to that pod, or it's access to someone who can get him answers or get him health.
I was making a critique about how a bounty hunter suddenly decided to become a crime lord. I'm like, that's kind of weak from a storytelling point of view. And I was like, wait, exactly what I did.
Oh yeah, I walked in after that aftermath, and you were just like,
who's writing this shit?
Call the lawyers again. Like, how do they keep finding out who's the leak?
Maggie, did you have any further notes on this first episode?
I liked the Boba Fett.
Bob A. Fett.
Bob, right. I'm really stoned, so hang in there.
Boba Fett.
I did like the character, and I did end up watching the whole show, which is a big deal for me if I don't really know what it's about. So I did enjoy it. But again, it was like I need to maybe watch the other movies so I could see something other than a cantina.
Well, I'll tell you what, you'll have to see the Cantina again a couple times, but you and me should watch those movies because I would love to get your outsider review on those. Especially the prequels.
I don't know any of the background of anything. Like,
oh, we're gonna go on a journey.
I honestly think you're almost better off. Like, if you don't have time to do the whole thing, The Mandalorian, I think, adds a lot of character building. That, like, seriously, in Star Wars, in the movies, it's very much, it's Boba Fett. I mean, it's just a guy in the armor. Like, he's
cool, trust him.
Like,
yeah. Like, he's not in it very much, right?
No.
Yeah.
Finally got eye candy male Twi'leks for once.
We did.
Yeah. And they didn't have a stupid French accent. I was happy.
Oh, as we know, yeah, you can suppress that accent, as Hera has shown us.
Question for the room. I know that there has been, this is a cosplay question. Is cosplaying Fennec the same with cultural appropriation as, say, doing a Black Panther character? I mean, obviously, my point is I can't say because I don't speak for either of those groups. However, personal opinion would say it's not as based on culture. It's more a Star Wars character rather than Black Panther, which is so rich in African culture, and it's beautiful that it's huge slap in the face to try to appropriate that just because you think that
Fennec's character is not defined by the fact that she's played by a Chinese American actor. I don't think the character is not in universe Chinese American character, so I don't.
There's a huge difference between Fennec Shand and, like, you wanted to do a version of Shuri. One is not okay. Fennec, in my opinion, I think would be fine, especially since there's a lot of helmet parts of it.
The only Star Wars character that I might draw the line at might be Lando or Finn.
It's like you never change your skin color to a existing in humanity skin color ever.
No.
Ever. Not a tan, not a nothing. Not a nothing.
Not a carefully placed cat eyeliner.
No.
If you have feelings about it and are listening to the podcast, let us know, please. If you speak for cosplaying people of color characters, would this fall under that?
Theoretically, as of right now, the character could have been played by any gender, race, wherever, honestly. Like, we know nothing about other than she's bionic.
I'm also interested to see if they put any more of the Maori fighting style in that, because they did it in Mandalorian a little bit. Like, the staff he was fighting with is actually something that he trained with. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how they incorporate that into it as well, because I do love
the staff. Actually, if you think about it, is that going to come back to the Tuscans?
I think so.
Oh, definitely. I think so.
They all had staff. So is that...
They're famous for it. And I'll bet you that
like
the Tuscans teach him the staff fighting, which they will model after this Maori cane fighting technique. I think that'll be great.
I bet they will. I bet that's all going to interconnect.
Maybe he got COVID.
What? Is that why he's in the back pod?
Maybe he got COVID and he, like, exhausted and he's trying to regain his strength and he's just like, man, I'm Lord for a while because I can't fucking fight, man.
I mean, it could be that this is like the best I can do right now. I can't fight. Like, this is why. Maybe that's why he was so shitty at fighting. Honestly, maybe that's why it was so hard to watch right now, because he just really isn't himself.
If you're just tuning in, this is a message to get vaccinated, or else you will fight horribly when surrounded by people in energy shields.
At first I was like, maybe the back to tanks are just like a thing. Maybe, he's not particularly hurt. Maybe it's just like maintaining. It's maintenance. Back to tank maintenance.
Yeah, maybe it's like better sleep.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
his back to pods is comfort level bed.
Just a flotation center device where you go and chill out for 8 hours.
No. Maybe he just feels comfortable.
A true Star Wars story before we wrap up today. As I mentioned earlier, Gantana Flinn helped me get my biggest bounty ever back in Galaxy Season. All it took was a quick tip. Back then, all the PvP action was on a moon of Naboo, but sooner or later, fighters had to come back to Mos Eisley to get buffs from the dancers and musicians, which made a big difference in battle. I caught a lot of my bounties just by hanging around in Eisley because everyone passed through that cantina door at some point. And while you could track your targets with secret droids, you didn't know who you'd be fighting until you actually eyeballed them. And might be an unbuffed shitlord still suffering from clone sickness who has traded good sense for the expediency of getting a buff and back into the fight and would be a one-shot bounty. Sometimes you'd get the 3-row buff Jedi walking tanks with egos to match, and you'd have to evaluate if you want to spend 30 minutes wearing this guy down or do I go find Gungan and Mosti and pack hunt him. Anyway, as well as being an extremely good raid leader and battle medic, Gantana was also really good at infiltrating other guilds that may have been throwing their weight around on the server. She was directly involved in breaking up or slowing down at least 2 big jerk guilds that I know of. Anyway, she holocomms me one day and says some dark Jedi with a 3-mil bounty is about to land in Eisley and he's not very heavily buffed. He had some early 2000s edgy name with death in it or something. I'd run raids with this guy, and I knew even unbuffed it was going to be a battle, but I thought I could win. So when you're chasing bounties for 100k or less, a 3-mil one walking right to you is too good to pass up. So he lands at the starport, and I take the gamble of trying to knock down his health before he fully loads in, which almost works, but he realizes he's being attacked, force runs out of the starport. One of my armor abilities was a sort of mech-assisted run, so I blaze out of there after him. I figure he's either going to drag me all over Eisley, line of sighting me, and it'll take all day and give the place a show to watch, or he's going to try to blast out of town where he might have a player safe house, and if he can get to that, he's safe until I give up. Joke would have been on him, because I had no girlfriend and 0 life in 2009. I could have waited outside his door for 12 fucking hours until he forgot I was there and tried to leave. Anyway, he's force running. I know it's going to be a pursuit, probably a long one. I hated those because it turned into a slow stern chase situation, and then there's time for the mark to start messaging you, negotiations, threats, LOL noobs, what have you. I have to spawn a vehicle quick to keep up that chase, and often it was a jetpack, very fast, reliable, but nope, I pull out the Clone Trooper AT-RT Walker, the one that sort of looks like a tall chicken running at Mach 2, but it was fast as hell over terrain, so I closed the gap on him, a brief battle, and I got the bounty, messaged Gantana, got him, drinks are on me. So yeah, Gantana's little infiltration tip got me a 3-mil bounty. The Mark was not pleased the next time we met during a raid. Thanks for hanging out, folks. We'll be back next week with more Book of Fett discussion. You can find me on all the social medias as Vinzer Flinn, and you can email me at captainflynn@gmail.com. You can also support this podcast and other endeavors on patreon.com/VinzerFlynn. And there are many other Flynns working on all sorts of creative projects out there you can get behind, such as Artemis and Milnari Flynn's true crime podcast, The Grim Dark Diaries, which is serving up a weekly episode as well as a bonus episode. And you can find them on all the podcast services, including wherever you found this one. So check that out if you dig true crime. They come up with some pretty interesting stuff. Okay, one last thing, the new Geeky Question of the week. The funniest answers to these every episode will get read next time, so leave a comment. And we cover a lot of MCU stuff, so this week's question is, what's the worst thing you could have been in the middle of doing when you got snapped and unsnapped in the MCU? Have fun with that one. This is Vinzer Flynn, last survivor of the Nostromo, signing off.